o'clock.
It's at 4.
Okay. Nobody's online with us yet, but
All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and call our special meeting of the Wayne County Board of Education to order. It is 4 o'clock exactly. Okay. And if you'll stand, we'll say the pledge. Oh, we'll go ahead and let you lead us if that's okay. Since you're holding the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The records show that all board members are present in person this evening. And we'll begin with our local school improvement council presentation from Wayne Elementary.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Glad to have you back. It just seems like last month that you were here, and it was a year ago. So in your packet, you will see, you have to get your readers out like me, but it is basically everything that I want to go over from the Promethean board up here. And it all follows along with the documents, the LSIC documents. So you have a blank copy of that if you want to take notes, and then also just all of our data on the side. So we'll look at number 1, and it talks about enrollment. So this kind of report that I gave, and I know it is kind of hard to see, but I just kind of like did a screenshot of it off of Weavis, off of WOW, and it is just a breakdown of all of our students, grade levels. This is what I look at. This is the report I look at when I'm doing like my projected enrollment for next year for numbers. So it really breaks them down from students that we've also enrolled, as you can see, from homeschool, non-public school, out of state. And our total right now is at 452. With that total enrollment of 452, 274 of those students are low SES, so 61% of our school are low socioeconomic, and we have 143 that are classified as special education, so 32% of our schools. Not all of those are due to learning disabilities. Some of those may be from speech IEPs, things like that. But we do have a very high special education population. Number 2, we look at our scorecards. And again, it is like microscopic to see without your readers and maybe a little magnifying glass. But here's Wayne Elementary. We have 2 check marks, so our targets are being met, even though we, in the academic achievement, even though we're still in yellow, we are meeting the targets in ELA and in math. And then our academic progress, if you look across the board, we are actually in the blue in the ELA, and we're out of red in mathematics. Our attendance, we're not as far in the red as what we have been in the past. And then our behavior, we don't really have a whole lot of behaviors to have to deal with around here. And then this right here just breaks it down even more. It does categorize it into subgroups, and I can't even read what those subgroups are. Do you know what those subgroups are, Ms. Alexander?
yeah, those are the top line, and she's talking about the second set of information.
Yeah.
The top line with check marks is the white subgroup, and then the second line is economically disadvantaged. And the fact that you've got check marks there is very positive.
Yeah, even though it's red, the check marks, that's what they want to see. That's
right.
What we want to see, because we are showing growth and improvement, meeting targets. Though we're in red with that subgroup, we're making the progress that we need.
And then the children with disabilities is the third line. And
so
then
the further we get up, doesn't it turn like it turns a different color.
Color.
Like it moves on.
yeah, the fuller the bar is, the
Yes,
better you
the
are.
better.
And to have blue under that academic progress and that economically disadvantaged subgroup, that's impressive.
Yeah, in the second column right here, academic progress.
Mm-hmm.
So we work hard here. Our teachers work very hard, and our kids, our students do too. So we set high expectations, and for not only our students, but Ms. Rainey and I set high expectations for our teachers too. And they're great to step up to some of the ideas and challenges that we have for them. Next are our annual targets. So our targets last year were in mathematics. We needed to be at 33.57. We met that target. And our ELA needed to be at 32.71. And then in the next column, it is what we have to hit this year in order to meet our target.
And just to mention, so anywhere you saw a check mark for Wayne Elementary, that, you know, either as the whole school in the top set of information or in those subgroups, that middle three that we looked at, if there was a check mark, that means that they achieved at least that level of proficiency that's in that 2024 target.
Yeah.
Now, that changes school by school. Those targets are different school by school.
So our targets that we have to hit may be completely and totally different from like Lavalette, Kellogg, Genoa, Dunlow. I mean, we are, you know, our targets are different based off of kind of like baseline data.
Yeah, they start with a baseline and then they project out for acceptable growth over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And so they give them targets to hit each year. So you can see from this information for 2025, you can see the increases there in the targets.
Mm-hmm. And then this trend map shows like where we have been over the course of pretty much the past decade, since 2014, 2015. And then, so last year with our mathematics, we were at 45% proficient. And reading, we were like at 44. So we were almost a whole 10 points or 10 percentage points above, 10 points above where our targets wanted us to be. So we took that big nosedive, of course, during the COVID.
Yeah.
The COVID years, but I feel like we're growing and we're climbing our way back out, and we're doing a fantastic job with doing that. So highest years were, of course, 2016, 17, and we want to hit that soon and you know, surpass that.
The district's highest performance year was 2017, 2018. That was that would have been the apex on our lines. That was our highest performing year. And then you can see with the 22, 23 scores that they're closing back into where they were in 2017 and 2018.
Yeah.
They're already higher than 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next little chart, it is our summative benchmark. So at the beginning of the year, we take the benchmark 1, and this is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students, and then we just finished taking our benchmark 2. And we still have a few kids who weren't able to come because of weather, and now we've got some sickness, so we're just hoping and praying we can get everybody in here and testing in time. We just have like a few little stragglers. But this is for math. In the beginning of the year, or beginning of the year benchmark, we usually give it within the first 2 to 3 weeks of school. So we're getting kids fresh off of summer vacation, summer break, you know, and the test that they give, it's a summative test, even though it's just like a benchmark, but it's still the summative test of all the standards that they need to know for the year. So of course, like we're going to be heavy in these colors in this red at the very first benchmark. So in 3rd grade, we were at 87%, but this middle of the year benchmark, we're only at 30% now. So we dropped that much. Now we gained more in our yellow, but those kids that were in 87 had to go somewhere. So some of those kids moved because we were only at 13% in yellow. Now red and yellow, you're still under benchmark. Like we don't want to see that high of numbers in those 2 colors at all. Beginning of the year, 3rd grade math, we were at 0, but now we're at 23 that are already at proficiency at the middle of the year. And we still have a semester to go before we take our summative. And then blue means exceeds standards. We had 0 and we have 5%. And in that category now in 3rd. 4th grade, we had 60. We started out with 64 in red, dropped down to 31. Some of those kids moved to yellow, but some of them moved to also green and blue. And we are seeing in a lot of our data that our special education students are meeting this green. We've had one in 3rd grade actually make it to blue. And we like questioned the teacher, like, did you give this wrong? Like, how did you give this test? And she was like, oh no. She was just like, this is exactly what I did. And I was like, make sure that you write this down, because if somebody comes and questions, because normally you don't see students with disabilities and with IEPs, you don't see them, sorry, this thing keeps tying out. You don't see them ever get out of red or yellow. But we've made some significant changes within our special education department. We are trying to do a whole lot more push in and co-teach. Whatever standards that our special education teachers plan with our regular education teachers. Whatever standards that the regular ed classrooms are covering, so are those special education teachers. Those kids are seeing the same content. Obviously, they are differentiating the instruction and their scaffolding when they need to, just to help those students along. But they're all seeing the same content, the same instructional strategies. They're seeing the same standards. They're seeing the same instruction. So,
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
I just noticed on the prior page, it said special education, 32% of enrollment, so roughly a third.
right.
And that would be students either with IEPs or
Mhm.
some form of special
Yes,
education.
yes. Any student with an IEP, so that could be speech, and some of our speech kids don't receive academic IEPs. So that's, I mean, a lot of them do, because a lot of times the students who are in speech at a young age, it prohibits them from that phonetics and that phonics and that solid, foundation they need in kindergarten and first.
Yeah, one of the reasons I mentioned that, we had a meeting last week and
Uh-huh.
somebody's, I think district-wide, we got
25%.
25% IPs, and there was one person there seemed to be amazed that we had that many.
Yeah.
And actually,
Here it's
some
higher.
schools even
Oh,
more.
yeah. We have in fifth grade alone, our fifth grade, we have 22 special education students. Academic,
Academic,
22. It's an entire class size,
Wow.
22. That's fifth grade. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But like, we're up for the challenge and we're doing some great things. So,
And just to tie some of this together, like if you look at like her third grade on the math, and in the green and blue, she's got 23% in the green here at the middle of the year.
Yeah.
She's got 5% in the blue, so she's sitting at 28%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, their target for the year is 36%.
Right.
So over the next few months, of course, they'd love to have 100%. I
Oh,
think up in green and blue, but at a minimum, they need to get that 28 number up to that 36 target to earn that check mark. And so that's how it all ties together. But
we went from 0 to 28 though in a
Yeah.
semester. So we're
Right.
hoping that we can continue that trend.
Sure.
For your special education students, when they do the summative assessment
Mhm.
testing, they get those modifications for
Yes.
that test?
Yes.
And what precludes them from taking that test? Anything? Or everybody's included?
Oh, everybody's.
Everybody's
Unless
included.
it's like in a classroom, 1% classroom, and they go on alternate
Okay,
standards.
right.
But normally we aren't recommending any of those students go on alternate standards and make that decision until later in their
So-
academic career.
Everybody's included in
Mhm.
those, in that percentage, those
Mhm.
benchmarks that you have to meet. So exposing those students to those general standards that
It's a
everybody
must.
else,
Yeah.
that's something that we have to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's critical. It is. It's just critical. So in fifth grade, we're not making as huge of gains as what we would hope. So we're still kind of heavy in this red, not as many moved up into the yellow, and we're only at 11% right now. This group last year, at this point in fourth grade, they were at 19%. So they've just kind of always struggled a little bit in the math area.
Mhm.
It still doesn't excuse, like the fact that we've got to get them up higher.
Those are COVID kindergartners?
Yeah. Yes, these are the COVID kids. This is the COVID group and the group that has 22 special education students in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, they're still, they're working so hard. And, as soon as these scores started coming in, I got Kelly Arthur in here with Olivia, our fifth grade math teacher. So we're departmentalized, and that's something I think we're gonna go away from. Yeah, you may need to just down. So I had her come in, and they actually broke her data down, and so they broke our data down, and they looked at what standards were actually covered on that benchmark that they were struggling in, because you can break those reports down within the portal. So when you're looking at all of your data, you can break those down. You can see like what standards were they given on this assessment, and it highlights yellow the standards that the majority of your class struggled the most with. It gives you like percentages.
Right.
So they wrote all that down, and a lot of the questions that they were given were on standards that she hasn't got to yet, that she hasn't taught yet. So that made her feel a little bit better about the whole situation. And between Kelly coming in, Carnegie representatives coming in, like she knows she's got a lot ahead of her to keep.
So she's got the support she needs to do whatever she needs to get those standards in that classroom.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So it's just, we're working with that. So overall, we 3 through 5 went from 76 down to 38 in red. Most of those moved in middle of the year to 40. We were at like below 0.5% in the beginning, and we're at 17 now, and 1 to 5 in the exceeds. So we're looking like we're moving forward. We're growing, and that's exactly what we want. So here's our ELA, same kind of chart. In third grade, that's a huge gain, 79 to 30 again. Most of them though went to yellow, but then we went from 3% to 22, 0 to 5, and this includes writing. So this is the first time that third grade has to, and writing is 25%. How much is it of their ELA grade on this? 20% or something. It's a huge chunk.
Mm-hmm.
It can really bring your grades down. One of my third grade teachers, it's her first year teaching, and she said, how much does the writing bring their scores down? Because so now she's got Rhonda coming in because she wasn't heavy on the writing, and it affected her scores some. So we went from 42 down to 25, 14 to 34 in fourth grade, and we have 16 already at exceed standards in fourth grade. In fifth grade ELA, we went from 59 down to 34. Some, a little bit of them went into the yellow, but we also had 16 as well in exceeds. So overall, went from 61 in red down to 30. We gained a little bit from 23 up to 32. We went from 12 to 26, and 4 exceeds to 12. So our ELA is looking really solid right now.
That's good.
Instructional reading level, this is what we can kind of look at for every student, K through 5, within our STAR Renaissance STAR testing. So in the fall, we had 21% were at an on level with their reading, instructional reading level, and now we're up at 64 in the winter. First grade, we went from 27.5 to 42. Second grade didn't grow very much. We've had a lot of conversations as to why they think this maybe, why this is happening. They have very full class sizes right now. They're like at 25, 25, 25. They're just at that brink where, you can't really bring another teacher, but they've got a lot of kids that were very young and just active, and just, it's, hard to pin down sometimes. So they're working on that. That second grade team, they're solid. They're hard workers. They'll get that score up higher.
How about your ECATs in the second grade? Are we?
Yes, we're utilizing them.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes. Third grade, 42.5 to 50. Fourth grade, 36 to 49, which I feel like we had a bigger growth in our benchmark than on our instructional reading level in the fourth grade. But again, writing is a big component of the scoring. Okay. Fifth grade, we went from 30.5 to 46. In our special ed, I even looked at those. We went from 1.8 to 6, on a reading level. But it's not great, but it's better than 1.5. Like, that's growth. We've also been showing the special ed students a report because we're really hitting hard on goal setting, the students looking at their data, tracking their data, setting goals for themselves, charting that data, and then having an accountability partner to be hold themselves accountable on how are you growing, how are you showing that growth, or what are you doing? And it sparks great conversation, but also the students know. But there's a report that they can look at that shows their growth. They may always stay in red, and that's discouraging for some of these kids. They're like, well, I'm never getting out of red anyway. But there's a report that shows like a number, like they start at this number, and it shows that they grew, and it'll show like plus whatever, plus 10 points. So that makes them feel good, even though we're not focusing on the color, we're focusing on the number and the growth, and that's huge for these kids. Math, kindergarten won't do STAR math until the spring. First grade, they went from 22 to 31. Second grade, 21 to 36. Third grade, 43 to 49. Fourth grade, 31 to 43. Fifth, 30 to 38. And then we've got our special ed went from 3.5 to 9. So, and moving on to attendance. If anybody has any questions, sorry, I'm just.
You're good.
Well, I just mentioned about that instructional reading level.
Yes.
Our challenge has been, we want to see that third grade at 75%.
Yeah.
And that's our initial goal. Eventually, we'd like to raise that goal to 90%.
Sure.
But our initial goal is
Yeah.
75%. Right now, they're setting at 50%. I noticed in our measuring success document that Nikki goes over with us, we just missed the 75% as a district last year. It was just below. I think it was like 70, 71, somewhere in there. So that's the key number that we focus on, again, because all the research behind it, if they're on reading level at the end of third grade, they're going to graduate. Yeah.
Our attendance. So these are our chronically absent, which is what we are really heavily focusing on this year. We always have those, students who may fall into a truancy where they're not turning in excuses. We send letters, we call, things like that. But then you have those chronic students who always have an excuse. They'll come in with a doctor's excuse, or they use their 10 parent notes, but they've missed 22 days of school. That's that they don't show up on the truant for Terry Lynn to get flagged, but they show up on our chronic. Their bodies aren't here in their seats to learn. They're not going to learn. So we've really been trying hard to get that percentage to come down with our chronic. Carrie has been doing fantastic with this. She's been scheduling what we call a SAT meeting, so like attendance SAT meeting. So it's like a SAT meeting only focused on attendance. And, we've been educating the parents and telling them this isn't an I got you meeting. This is a meeting for us to inform you what chronic absenteeism is and how it's hurting your student academically. And later on down the road, you could be called back in for a SAT meeting due to academics if they continue to miss school because they're going to fall behind. They're not here to get the material. So from the fall, we started at 27. Now we're down to 22 at the winter. After this month and sickness, who knows, that may grow again. But this is a report. Where did you pull this report from? Zoom. And I still don't have access to look at her school. Since I moved here from East Lynn, the Zoom WBDE, Joe can't get it figured out. I don't know. So I just have to go to Karen and be like, okay, pull this up. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know. It's like it doesn't recognize me as the principal. So here's our chronically absent. Of course, these students need attention. So we're trying to be proactive even and get ahead of the game and contact a lot of those students and their parents and inform them you don't want them to fall in this category. So we want you to stay up here in the blue and not have any absence issues. And some of the things that we do to help encourage attendance is we obviously incorporate Winnie, our wonderful dog. They get one of those big fat heads to keep in their room for the month. We have a celebrity of the month. We just recognize students for first semester perfect attendance. A lot of classrooms incorporate their own little fun activities or reward systems or games to encourage students to get here on time, to not be tardy, things like that. Anything you want to add, Carrie, that I may
We've also worked really closely with our social worker. She's been a
Yes.
huge asset for us. She does a lot of home visits for us and the parents that we can't really seem to get to. And so she's been so valuable for us.
Parents don't like when somebody comes knocking on their
Knock
door.
on their door. So.
And our social, she's wonderful. She's nice and she educates them about why, she's not there to, and that, again, it's not an I got you, it's how can I help you get your kid to school.
Right.
So we also, at these ASAP meetings, we hand out different literature on how, how sick is too sick. And we tell parents, hang this on your fridge. if your kid comes in and says, I don't feel good today, can I stay home? Go to the fridge and go over this list. If they can't say, legitimately yes to any of these, say, well, get in the car, you're going to school, or get on the bus. So the parents were very thankful for some of that literature too, because they were like, this will help me out, so. Now back onto our behavior report, discipline report. We have had 2 out-of-school suspensions.
Just
one-
remember, no names. We're recording
Right.
and broadcasting. And
Yes, I wasn't going to say names.
Okay.
I'm so scared.
No, not
I'm
on
gonna
here
say
anyway.
Just
something.
making sure.
Just in case.
Not on here.
I'm teasing.
John Doe.
We've had 2 out-of-school suspensions. One just recently due to something that happened on a bus issue, and we just had to reinforce the suspension from here. And then 3 in-school suspensions. We don't like to do out-of-school suspensions. I think the one out-of-school suspension was 1 day. In-school suspensions are obviously just 1 day, and it's in our little timeout room right beside of Miss Runyon's office, and we're all there. But it is, they don't like that. They would rather be home than in the timeout room. So we try to lean more on the in-school suspension because they do not like being in there alone all day. Now, we let them go to the restroom. It's not like it's solitary confinement. We feed them. We let them go to the restroom.
Right.
If they have questions like, I don't know how to do this, can somebody come help me? We'll go in there and help them figure out how to do their problem. But they don't have that peer-to-peer interaction, and they do not like being in there. So that really helps us in a huge way is the in-school suspension. I think they're more afraid of that than the out of school. So, but 5 cases for the first semester is really, not bad. And we don't have a program. Our program is just being, present with them. We just interact with them. We have Winnie. So the Celebrity of the Month helps. They all want to get Celebrity of the Month. Diane, our counselor, she goes in and does lessons all the time. She'll take Winnie in there's just, now when spring fever hits, we'll of course have, your typicals. But for the most part, we have high expectations here, and we keep the rigor going. So in-class disruptions are to a minimum because we are just bell to bell, and engaging, exciting, instruction is happening, and they don't have time to,
Get in trouble.
get in trouble and have the behaviors.
Right.
We hear quite a bit statewide about the problems with behaviors, especially at the elementary level and in the younger grades, and tremendous disruptions and things like that. In all the classrooms I go out into and all that, I don't see that. And I know that it occurs on some occasions. How much do you all see that the distracting behavior, the unacceptable behavior in the elementary classrooms that you just can't get under control? Are you having any of that?
No, we're able to get it under control. We've got, I don't know, one student kind of comes to mind, maybe another, where they just kind of have to just step away. We just have to remove them from that situation, from that classroom, bring them into the office, let them just kind of decompress, and then they can go back. So, we're not seeing that really. I've been in situations where in the primary, they're just over the top. You can't rein them in. You can't get control of them. But knock on wood, right now, we don't have any
We have
major
great resources too,
issues.
our counselor is wonderful. She has such a great relationship with the kids through Winnie that she uses that to their, our advantage really
Right.
to help them. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's a big help for us too.
I've got one student, she doesn't like some mornings, she's just not coming to school. And the mornings because the dad puts the car in park and then drop off and gets out of the car and picks her up, carries her in, and sits her down, and every time I just have to let her sit there for a minute, and then she's ready to go see Winnie, go talk to Winnie, go talk to Diane, and she's good to go. And she has the best day. The best day. So we're not seeing a whole lot of that.
Sorry, that was my fault.
I didn't do the mirroring because it did this to me when I presented last week. And it
We'll give this back to her.
it kept going to sleep on me and taking forever. So I thought, I'll just plug in. Well, the plug-in wasn't working.
Missy,
Yeah.
you can have this page back.
Oh,
Okay?
I've got.
I know, so we don't want to take them. We don't want them.
Oh, with the names.
Yeah.
Just throw them to the center.
Okay, yeah.
All right, but yeah, that's it. Like, we don't have a whole lot of, discipline issues here. And a lot of those, I feel like you can put to the, our counselors, or Diane, our counselor, Chrissy with communities and schools. She's always there to help step up and help with, any home needs, home to school needs. And she's, doing wonderful with that. Having Winnie, and then just the rigor in our classrooms. The teachers just, having that good quality, high instruction and keeping the kids engaged, and they're excited to be here. They just,
Is this been rougher with the younger ones or the older ones?
what?
Any discipline problems, are they more for the younger ones or the older ones?
These were all older
Those
students.
were older.
Older.
Yeah.
These were older students, yeah. It's mainly fifth grade. Usually fifth grade, and then sometimes it'll trickle
Oh,
down
yeah,
to
they're about
fourth.
to be middle school.
But it's
Yeah.
usually your fifth grade.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
that's
lose
why I
their
say
mind
spring
in
is
middle
fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
1 minute over.
Look at you.
I'm just kidding.
The extra attendance and tardy paper that we put with their report cards, have you had good response from that? Do you feel like your parents are
Yeah.
responding to
They
that?
have, they'll call and ask questions, of course. Last year
What's that mean?
especially.
Yeah.
But this year, they all pretty much know what they mean. And then, like, Carrie calls every day. So they know, I mean, like, when they get these papers, that's just kind of like their explanation. That's a color
They shouldn't be
code.
surprised, should they? Care?
No, that's the color code of what they,
Yeah.
of the data of what they've been producing with their kids.
Someone did call me this week and ask, why they were in green, and then why their punctuality rate was lower, and he was kind of confused. So I just explained it again. But I try to go over that even when we have our ASAP meetings. We try to just bring that up and reinforce what that is.
Right. I know my grandson is in second grade,
Mhm.
and he brought his home, and he was in the green on both sides, and he was just ecstatic. So
Yeah.
I know the kids.
The kids do
They
see
pay
that.
attention.
They do
Yeah,
pay
they
attention
do.
to that. They really do. Yeah. So it's a good report. We
Yeah.
We
love it.
appreciate it.
Helpful.
I mean, and here's our big thing. Students need to see this data. They need to see their academic data. They need to see their attendance data. They need to see it because that's their purpose. That's their why. I mean, if they don't understand that in the end, it's just, they're just going through the motions. But if you like lay it out for them and allow them to see, what they're producing or what they're
Right.
doing, and then let them set those goals for themselves of how can I do better to show that growth, that gives them that drive. They're not doing it for the teacher, they're doing it for themselves.
Right.
And that has more meaning that way.
Very good.
We're done. If anybody has any,
Fantastic. We appreciate you both.
no problem. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you, yeah.
We do want to just kind of like wrap up and say that we're getting ready to do a renovation of our library. We would like to get some new seating in here. Christy has found these like student friendly, like they're just little couches. They're so cute. And it's just like, this is just big adult furniture. I mean,
Yeah,
you are fitting
right.
on this furniture. We're in elementary school. We don't need adult furniture in here. But these little couches, of course, are outrageous expensive. So she has put up on a GoFundMe, but they charge so much surcharge with that GoFundMe. It's ridiculous. So I don't even know if that's even active anymore. But we thought about reaching out to some of our business partners and just see if they would like to help with some donations. And I don't know. It's just getting creative and raising money to help do that. And then, of course, we want to paint the library. These are the colors of the OG.
Original, yeah.
This is the original colors of the school. So we want it to just be more toned down a little bit, not so like screaming bright. So that's kind of like on our plate to do.
This would keep you awake for meetings.
I know, right?
Now we did paint. We did painting on the outside in the
Yes,
corridors.
and that's yes, that was on my list of thank yous.
Good.
We also we're trying to get some new books. Like these are our primary books, and we don't have very many. The little kids, they just lose them. We are constantly trying to restock that little. So that's on our to-do list too, is to get some more of the smaller reading level books. And then, of course, to hopefully revamp the library and make it more
That'd be good.
kid friendly instead of just a meeting place for adults, pretty much.
What's the ceiling tile?
Probably just some roof leaks that just hasn't been changed. It's not fresh, so it just needs to be changed out.
No active leaks.
No. Well, we had one down the hallway, but I think he came and took
He
care of
came-
that
yeah.
this week after
The
all.
room's coming along well down there.
Down this way, yeah. I was telling Mr. Alexander that James came and gave me, like, reported out yesterday and said, like, the boom truck will be here laying the metal beams, I guess, so they can start getting it under roof. And he was like, then we should start really moving once they get it under roof. So, yeah, it's exciting. So, yeah, we thank you all for that.
Yes.
The
That's been
HVAC.
needed for a long time. you know.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, so long. So we do thank you tremendously for that, and we thank you for the, making sure that we have, our HVAC systems good to go right now. We're up and running.
Knock on wood.
I know, knock on wood. I was like, I haven't had to message the HVAC guys, I think, in 2 weeks.
What?
Yay.
Usually it was like every week, sometimes more than once a week. So I haven't even had to send him a text for 2 weeks. So we're doing really good.
You know what'll happen now that you've bragged.
Now that I said that, I know.
I'm just saying.
I
We
know.
just jinxed it, but that's okay.
And then, of course, our proximity doors that we talked about a few years ago, we still have those in place and they're
Yeah.
wonderful. So, thank you all for always being so supportive and making sure that we, run smoothly.
What's the number you're looking at for the couches you were talking about?
Do you remember off the top of your head?
I want to say 16 something.
Yeah, it's like 8,000 for one section up here in this little corner, and then I think 11,000 for this one because it's multiple. It's not just one couch.
Right.
It's like multiple front back, like
So around 20,000.
yeah. Between I think 16 to 20, 18, 20. Yeah. So it's a lot, and we probably won't get done this year, but I mean, it's just something we're shooting for. We're working hard to try to do and get done. So we just need to make this more kid friendly. We want this library to be a place that kids can just come and enjoy reading. Like on recess time when they're stuck inside, can I go to the library and come in here and get a book and just sit down and read? We have a great collaboration with Wayne High School, their internship program. How many students do we have this semester? I think we've got like 4 students here, and we had 2 the first semester, and their sole job was just checking in books and reshelving books and checking out books for students. So during that recess block, we always have high school students in here, and then we've always got Miss Criswell, Carrie, we've got Jennifer Queen there, and then usually Christy's over here. So it's not like the kids would just be unmonitored. So there's always somebody in here for them to come and do that during their recess.
Now, is it the guided reading where they get points for
That's the AR. Mm-hmm.
AR?
That's what that's
Is
what
that
those are
working
for.
out pretty good?
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. We have little competitions with that too. We love a good competition around here.
Nothing wrong with that.
We love a good competition.
Anything you can think of that we could, besides the couches, of course. Anything
Right.
else that you
Just maybe with our library, like helping with these little primary.
We'll
level
probably help with the
They're
books,
just-
couldn't we?
like I said, the little ones, they just lose them. We don't know, eat them. We don't
It's like
know.
That's
We
right.
don't know what, it's like socks. Yeah. We don't know what happens to them.
They go home and disappear.
That's
John
right.
probably did it.
Yeah.
Probably, but we desperately are always in need of this lower level. But because we do have some, of those special education students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th who are still on this reading level,
Sure.
and they don't want to read, some of these books. So we want to try to find some lower level reading books that are interesting for the students who
Absolutely.
do struggle some.
Right.
So yeah, that's our big thing.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys.
If you all, does anybody want this cheesecake, coffee, water?
I'm
Finish up your meeting?
personally, I'm good, but thank you.
I'm fine right now, thank you.
What kind of cake you got?
It's just plain cheesecake with like homemade lemon curd.
Sound like a winner to me.
All right, I'll get you a slice.
I know Geezer lives by myself, so
You'll take it, huh?
We can't really walk into where they're building the new rooms, but we can walk down to the door and take a look out.
Okay.
Take a look out
I'll
and
eat the
see
cheesecake.
how it's transpiring.
My knees are bad.
We'll go on to our new business then. Consider for approval the recommended personnel matters on page 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jonita, second by Mark. Any questions or concerns on those personnel matters? None? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 2, consider for approval the purchase requisition order and quotes in excess of $5,000 on pages 2 through 4. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by
I'll second
Randy, second by Dennis. Questions or concerns on those requisitions? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
What you got for us, Todd?
Superintendent report.
The, at the last meeting, we talked about, there was a freeze on federal funds, and we talked about, I think I shared the email from the State Department.
Mhm.
It wouldn't impact Title I.
Right.
And they were checking with the Agricultural Department regarding that. I think that memo about the freeze was rescinded the next day from the administration. And so those federal funds are not being impacted at all.
Okay.
We weren't being impacted, but at this point, it's my understanding they're not being impacted at all. So that's,
So
Okay.
before
It's
they
kinda-
everybody like that'll be still able to help us and come into school.
yeah, it's kind of a non-issue right now. So
Okay.
I want to mention that the Third Grade Success Act, we've been implementing that now for a couple years, and with the ECATs going into the classrooms. The next phase of that is in 2026. There's a retention for students who are not on level at the end of third grade. There's a retention component to that.
Mhm.
And so we're going to have clear direction for our schools on how that's going to work,
Whoa.
what the exceptions are, what the exemptions are, et cetera. And so you're probably going to be hearing about that maybe in state level meetings. And so I just wanted to remind you that is coming up. Again, that's not this summer, but next summer is when it would kick in, next year's third graders. And so we will get a stakeholder group together, elementary principals, elementary teachers, people who are closest to the point of implementation that can make recommendations to us on how to implement that retention policy. So that's coming. We'll be working on that beginning second semester here.
Okay.
And then I was talking to you about the Spring Valley High School soccer field. And I'd mentioned that we'd done some work on the drainage out there, and that since we had done that work, we'd only had 2 flooding issues, one of them being last Friday. But when the VA did a lot of road work
Yeah.
and new construction up that way, it put a lot more water down
Wow.
and onto our property. And so I've talked to the fire chief down there, reached out to Mark on Friday, and then I followed up with the fire chief Friday, and then spoke to him again. I believe it was yesterday. We're going to get everybody that's involved together to try to figure out a long-term plan to stop that flooding down there, because it floods the firehouse as well.
Yeah.
Plus our property as well. But we have that significant sinkhole issue there that we're going to have to go in and repair at the soccer field. But I think that there's going to be even more work needed after that. So we're reaching out to the parties involved to try to get everybody together on it. Buffalo Middle School, it looks like they're going to have enough players to field their own baseball team this baseball season. So that'll be a first time in, I guess, quite some time that they've had their own.
Ever.
That they've had their own team. And so, as with anything, there's startup cost involved. They don't have uniforms, they don't have equipment, none of that. So we're going to try to help from the county level to help get them started. But you'll also see that they're out conducting fundraising activities as well for the team. So you might see some of that activity on social media, but I just wanted to let you know that we are contributing some funds to help them buy the essential equipment that they need to get started.
Yeah, I noticed the last couple of years that youth league baseball down there, what is it, Bambino or what?
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, the Bambino little ones.
Mm-hmm.
That they've been active, and there's a whole lot of them participating. So that, I guess that moves its way up finally, right?
Yeah. Well, and what you see a lot is the schools combining teams in order to field a team. Ideally, what we would like to get to is where they had the ability to field their own teams.
Yeah.
Because there's more kids participating. There's more ties to the local school there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've encouraged that over the past couple of years. And I think we're starting to see the fruits of that a little bit too. And so I just wanted to let you know we are providing some of the essential funding for them, uniforms, bats, that type of thing to get them started. And then we'll move from there. The other thing is, up until last year, we were purchasing a county vehicle pretty much yearly, trying to keep our fleet updated because the age of the fleet, and I had provided you the list, and you can see some of the age of the vehicles. The age of the fleet was in pretty bad shape. We've got one of our warehouse vehicles that we utilize is in very poor condition, is going to need replaced. So I've had Bill Priest and Mike Hart have been out looking for a replacement vehicle. We found a 2022 Chevrolet Express cargo van that has about 26,000 miles on it. That it looks like it would be a good replacement. That vehicle runs around $30,000. I priced that around the state. Had them look. They went to a couple different dealerships, and then we ran some internet searches across the state. That's about as low as you're going to get one of those vehicles. And so I'll be coming to you soon asking for approval on a purchase there. So if there's anything in particular you want to see. In the past, we've bought some of the state surplus vehicles. The problem with those vehicles is they have a lot of miles on them, and then they have to be replaced in short order. And we had to do that back when money was really, really tight. And then we started buying a little bit of newer vehicles that would last a little bit longer.
Sure.
But we skipped the cycle last year. But this vehicle, I believe it's the one that Mike Workman drives out and delivers mail and other things out to the schools. It won't pass inspection. So we're going to have to do something there.
26,000 is not too many miles for 22 model on there.
Yeah.
What model is the one that we have, just out of curiosity?
I can't remember. It was on that list. I'm thinking
2001?
it's either a 2008 or a 2012, something like that.
Time for a new one.
Yeah, we could get 10
Probably got a lot of
plus
miles on it
years out of
too,
one.
I'd say.
That's helpful, but
So if you got any concerns, let me know. I might reach out to you and take. I don't know how long the dealership can hold it if we want to move forward with that one. So if
I'm
you
fine with it. I'll
If
go ahead and tell
you
you.
need it.
Don't call me, okay?
Isn't that way you feel about it?
I mean, if
You got
we have
my
to have
okay,
it,
so
we
don't
have
call
to
me.
have it. And if that's a pretty standard price around the
You're right, exactly.
I
Well,
would
if we
rather hold
need
it.
it,
I would rather hold off, but the longer if we hold off another year without purchasing one, we're just gonna.
well, but this
We'll
one's
have to
Next time
purchase
there's
two.
an emergency, there's going to be 2 or 3 that we have to replace.
Do we have any surplus that we can get rid of and maybe make up any of the difference for the price of that one?
We've sold quite a few, and I think the ones were marked as sold that we've passed on. And I don't think that we have anything that
Nothing else that we could get rid of?
or it's not worth anything if
we're
we
not
do
gonna get
have it.
anything for it.
Right.
No, we will try to get rid of the one that we're replacing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we're going to get out of it. Okay. That's all I had.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. You beat me.
I know I did. What happened to you?
Motion by Johnny, to second.
I'll second
Dennis. All in favor?
it. All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It is 4:50.
Wow.
Thought I should say the vehicle I'm in is 17 years old.
I don't think we can.
Go ahead and
live
say
much
it.
in that.